The Stampeders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Good afternoon. Nice to have you with us for this sudden death struggle. You know, last Wednesday, snow and cold air hit the city of Calgary. Since that time, there has been absolutely no relief. For a while, it looked as though the turf would be a problem, but it is artificial turf. It's been cleaned off. It's a little hard, but the players say in good condition, and they will be using their regular turf shoes. You know, this time of the year, people expect this kind of weather on the prairies. They get used to it, and they say, what the heck? Let's play the game and get on with it. Here are the weather conditions. The wind is from the north at 15 to 20. The temperature is minus 10 degrees. The sky is partly cloudy, and the forecast is for light snow. This is Winnipeg coach Ray Yark, and Ray, it's all down to the one game to get to the final. What can your club do today?
Well, we're going to have to contain the big play on Calgary. That's what beat us the last time we were over here, Ernie. And I think basically we're going to have to run the football a little bit and hope we can still throw on the inside. And
Jack Goda, the coach of the Calgary Stampeders. Jack, what do you expect your team can do today?
Well, I'm hoping, Ernie, that we can continue with a short passing game and control inside by two good running backs, Sykes and Burden, up inside.
Don Whitman, Bob LaRose, and Ronnie Lancaster are in the booth, and they'll set up the game for you right after these messages.
This afternoon, the Western Conference moves a step closer to determining its 1978 champion. Yesterday, in the Eastern Conference, they reduced the number of contenders to 2. The Montreal Alouettes, as expected, defeated the Hamilton Tiger Cats, with David Green enjoying a big afternoon. The Alouettes were winners by a score of 35-20 and now advance to the Eastern Final against the Ottawa Rough Riders. Joining us in the broadcast booth this afternoon, former Saskatchewan quarterback, now their head coach, Ron Lancaster. And Ron, the problem facing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the uncertainty regarding two quarterbacks and how they can throw, might they do anything different? Any different formation to stress a running game?
Well, there's a lot of different things you can do. They can make changes in personnel and go to two tight ends and things to make a conservative approach to the game, run more, throw less. When you're missing a guy like Brock, the experience is gone, so you have to try something different in their running game. If they can get Crump and Washington going, they have the people to run with the football, so that wouldn't surprise me.
Bob LaRose?
Ron, Sykes is back for Calgary. Had a wonderful rookie season. What does his addition really do for Calgary?
Well, let's look at it this way. In other years, Willie Burton, you know, you keyed on Willie. Now, up comes Jimmy Sykes this year. He's accounted for like 2,370 yards of total offense, and I think that in itself right there, the leading rusher, leading pass receiver, you can't miss a guy like that and expect to have a good effort.
Ron, you've been in this situation where it's been cold. I guess you're anxious to get with it, are you?
At this time of the year, you know, you just wind it up and go. You don't worry about anything.
Let's wind it up here and go down to field level for our national anthem. We'll be back with the opening kickoff right after this message. With Bob LaRose, Ernie Affiganis, and Ron Lancaster as we prepare to bring you this Western Conference semifinal from McMahon Stadium. A cold afternoon, a temperature of minus 10 degrees. Cyril McFall kicking off. Faison and Crump are back, and Faison starts out from his goal area. Running out of room on the far side of the field, he is bounced out of bounds on the 28-yard line by Ray Odoms. And now let's see who the starting quarterback will be. Ray Yark was undecided. He wanted to see what they would do in the pregame warm-up. It is going to be Harry Knight. Harry Knight, who has not seen any action since the 18th of July. He's been sidelined with an injury that has been diagnosed and explained as a rotator cuff problem. and this has hampered his throwing. He has not been able to really zing the ball. And Winnipeg is lining up in that different formation. They have two tight ends, Tommy Walker and Ezerins. Crump in a running back spot, and he is stopped right at the line of scrimmage by John Helton. This was what Ron Lancaster indicated they might do with those twin tight ends.
They've put two tight ends up here on the field, and they've got three backs in the backfield. As they start out the running play, John Helton does a heck of a job of busting in here, getting a hold of Crump, slowing him up enough. Very short gain.
Well, they're now reverting to that double slot as Gord Patterson comes into the ball game along with Joe Poplawski, and Ezerins and Tommy Walker go to the bench. Second and 10, swinging it out, incomplete, intended for Washington. He was being covered by Blaine Lamoureux. So the Blue Bombers are stymied on their first offensive series. Blaine Lamoureux was over there stride for stride with Jay Washington as Harry Knight attempted to swing the back out of the backfield, and Winnipeg will be forced to kick it away. Defensively, most people feel that the Stampeders do have an edge in this ball game. The front four has been dominant. In fact, many people compare the front four here in Calgary to a group up north about 200 miles known as Alberta Cruise. Bernie Ruoff's first punt of the ball game. Tom Forzani fields it at the 45, and Forzani gets to the 47, no further, as Ron Southwick was downfield quickly to make the tackle. Well, we appreciate those greetings. We just wish the folks in Calgary had warmed things up a little more for this afternoon's Western semifinal. Usually you don't anticipate these frigid temperatures until at least the final, a week away.
Well, it is cold, Donnie.
First and 10 for Calgary. John Hufnagel, the starting quarterback. They're at their own 48-yard line. James Sykes has 5 yards, brought down by Leon Lescavich. Sykes missed last week's game, the final game of the season between these two teams, with a knee problem.
And Sykes shows here just what they did miss last game. With great determination, Leon Lescavich gets a hold of him, and Sykes just runs right out of his arms. Good power running back.
Second and 5 for the Stampeders. The emphasis, I'm sure, today will be on the ground game. Here's Willie Burden to the 50 of Winnipeg for a first down. Reggie Pearson was the man who came in to make the stop. You've got two fine running backs in Calgary, and Willie Burden and James Sykes. Burden, of course, hampered, as we have mentioned previously, throughout much of the year by what has been described as a turf toe. And when you talk about turf, this field is in excellent shape at McMahon today.
It's in super shape. We're looking at Harry Walters, the middle linebacker. Great block thrown on him. Harry gets back up and gets into the tackle. Aggressive line play.
Back to the live action, the ball at the 50 of Winnipeg. They go inside with Sykes again for a gain of about 3.
Very early in this game, they're trying to establish that running attack that proved so great for them 2 games ago against Winnipeg, when Sykes and Burden each gained over 200 yards total. And they're going to try and march that ball down the field without using the pass.
It is second and 6. The ball is at the 46. Hufnagel's first pass of the day, swings it out to Willie Burden. Burden looking for that first down, and he's going to be stopped about a yard short by Ron Southwick with help from Gary Rosilowicz. Now let's see where they position the ball. It will be about 2 yards for the Stampeders on this third down attempt. And with that, Jack Goda sends in the kicking unit. I'm quite certain that Cyril McFall will try for 3.
There's not a strong wind, Don, but
No,
it's fair enough to carry that ball a fair distance. And I think they want to take advantage of the fact that they've got the wind and try and keep Winnipeg trapped down deep in their own end.
McFall has hit from 51 yards. I thought they would go for 3, but he's angling it out of bounds, and he does, down at the 5-yard line.
Excellent kick.
Cyril McFall looking for that corner, looking for that sidelines. It was only 36 yards, but He keeps Winnipeg deep in their own zone at their own 6-yard line. 11:22 is the time remaining in this opening quarter. Don Barker, the referee this afternoon. Jim Lysak, the line umpire. Johnny Strappa, the back umpire. Vern Heath is the head linesman, and Ken Lazaruk is the field judge. The winner, of course, will advance to the Western Final next weekend in Edmonton against the Eskimos. That three-back setup once again. Richard Crump swinging out wide, and McCorkindale, the ball carrier, stopped by John Pelizzetti. McCorkindale has not carried the ball that often this year, and he did not expect to see a great deal of work today. Vince Faison has had a pretty good season for Winnipeg. He had previous stops in the CFL in both BC and Edmonton, and in the opinion of some people, he is worthy of all-star recognition in the Western Conference as a cornerback this season. Second man, Jay Washington, trying to get that first down. He's going to be very close. John Pelizzetti pulled the feet out from under Washington. For the third consecutive year, he's been a member of the 1,000-yard club. In 76 and 77, Jay, of course, was the rushing leader in the Western Conference. He relinquished that title this year to Mike Strickland of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Take a look at that line play. Everything's pretty tied up. Ollie back in the middle linebacker gets driven off real well.
Well, this is the time of the year when there are no holds barred. You shoot the works, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are gambling on third down. They've got the first down as McCorkindale, a Calgary product, just puts his head down and keeps on driving to the 20. Of course, John McCorkindale would like to perform well here at home. He's a graduate of the University of Calgary. We'll be back with the Winnipeg first down play right after this timeout. The officiating crew headed by Don Barker as they prepare to resume play at the 20-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, a big third down gamble. And again, Winnipeg in that power I formation. The two tight ends, Ezrin and Tommy Walker. Jay Washington to the 25. There's also a penalty flag on the play. A face mask charge is going to be assessed against the Calgary Stampeders' Ollie Bakken. Well, the Blue Bombers have moved out from the shadow of their goal post.
Number 50, face mask.
Ollie Bakken, the man guilty of that face mask infraction, and Winnipeg has a first down at the 40.
You take a look at it from ground level. Good trap block, but as he comes through, Bakken reaches out, just about pulls Jay's head off as he runs through that hole.
Our isolated camera director, Kenny Nielsen, picking up that infraction on Bakken. It's first down Winnipeg. The ball is at the 40. No opportunity as John Helton was into that backfield, and he caught John McCorkindale almost before he took the handoff from Harry Knight.
John Helton lined up here, just fires through that line, and nobody's really there to stop him. McCorkindale suffers the consequence. Here we take a look at it again, isolated. McCorkindale no sooner gets that ball than Helton's got him wrapped up and dropped for the loss.
What a year this 31-year-old veteran from Arizona State is having. Knight to throw. Intended for Patterson. It's picked off by the Stampeders. Ollie Bakken is the man who came up with that ball. It was deflected a couple of times as it went off the fingertips of Gordy Patterson, and Bakken alertly dove for it. A key turnover.
Take another look at this. Knight gets pretty good protection in that pocket, but when he lets it go, it's got a bit of a flutter. It's up fairly high. Al Burleson, number 27, the safety, right there on Gordy Patterson, knocks that ball up in the air, and it's first big turnover of the ball game.
Ron Lancaster, did you think that Knight was putting much on that ball?
He had it on the ball. I think Al Burleson read him well. He went right where Knight was looking, and he got there before the ball, and that's trouble.
This could be trouble. Willie Armstead couldn't hang on. Merv Walker was in that foot race with Willie Armstead down at the goal line. He couldn't quite hang on as Hufnagel attempted to capitalize quickly on that Ollie Bakken interception.
And if there's any question about Hufnagel's throwing ability with that bad thumb, he's got a pulled tendon in his thumb and a bit of a bone chip. He laid that one right on the money.
8:07 is the time left in the opening quarter. It's 2nd and 10 Calgary. The ball is at the Winnipeg 45. Forzani. It should be a first down at the 35 of the Blue Bombers. Vince Faison making the tackle on Tom Forzani.
And once again, Hufnagel getting all kinds of time to pick out his receivers. Very little rush from that defensive front four, and this is where they really have to come on strong today, is get some kind of rush on Hufnagel.
The ball just inside the Winnipeg 35. 1st and 10 for the Stampeders. Forzani is wide left. Kirk splits right. James Sykes, the ball carrier, brought down after an advance of 3 by Harry Walters. The ball fumbled, picked up by Erosion. However, I do believe it had been whistled dead prior to it squirting away from Sykes. 7:06 is the time left in this opening quarter. It's a scoreless ball game. We'll be back after this.
Last play, he reads exceptionally well, breaks into that defense or offensive backfield, brings Sykes down. That ball popped loose, but it was called dead before the ball came loose.
2nd and 8 for the Stampeders. Hufnagel swinging it out to Sykes. It's incomplete. Pressure coming from the backside in the person of Billy Howard, who hit Hufnagel just as he released.
Billy Howard working against Willie Thomas and Tom Humphrey right here has an easy route into that backfield. He gets a good shot on quarterback Hufnagel as the pass goes incomplete.
This time, Cyril McFall lines up in field goal formation from the 40. Certainly well within his range. Penalty flag is down. There is movement at the line of scrimmage. The kick is good. But let's wait and see what the infraction is. Offside, I believe, is being charged against Winnipeg.
And Don, I imagine they will take the field goal. It's only a 5-yard penalty. They would still have 3rd down and about 4 yards to go. So I assume that they will take the field goal.
They are going to decline the penalty. Don Bacher had gone over to just make certain of that fact in conference with Larry Titley, and it will be a first down for Winnipeg at the 35. There's the illustration of that infraction by the head man, and it's 3-0. The Calgary Stampeders leading Winnipeg. Ernie?
Want to remind everyone, Don, and our crew up there, that the College Bowl is coming up. That's November the 18th. And UBC is involved there. CBC Television will bring you the College Bowl live next week.
Jay Washington had 4 players in pursuit of him as he attempted to go wide, and Blaine Lamoureux, number 75, was the man who brought him down.
This Calgary defense is looking extremely strong. They know that Winnipeg is probably going to have to run that football, and so those linebackers and even the defensive backs are up close to that line of scrimmage and really ready to go.
You can really tee off, I suppose, when you know a team is suffering one of its most potent offensive weapons. That little shovel pass almost to McCorkindale. The ball was fumbled. It squirted loose. I think it will simply be ruled as an incomplete pass. Something of an unusual move on the part of Harry Knight.
If we run this forward a little bit in here, watch. Right here, hold the ball right there. There's the ball, underhand throw to McCorkindale. As he goes up through that line, he grabbed the ball and then had the ball just slip out of his hands. It was a fumble. We're covered by Winnipeg, but it's 3rd down.
3rd and 7. Bernie Ruoff stands back at his own 22. Tom Forzani takes it at the 35. Forzani is brought down at the 38. Reggie Pearson was one of the Winnipeg punt return people who was downfield to make the tackle, limiting the return by Forzani to 4 yards after a 39-yard kick.
The specialty team members, Brian Gervais and Reggie Pearson here, getting bumped several times down the field, but is still able to get in and make the tackle. Good play by Reggie Pearson on that specialty team.
1st and 10 Calgary. They're at their own 40-yard line. Hufnagel has thrown the ball just 4 times so far. Willie Burton tried to go up the middle. His advance was limited to about 3 by Leon Liskevich, Harry Walters, and the man over on the other side, Billy Howard. That Winnipeg defensive set looks this way. Lyle Wozniacki and Greg Johnson are the ends. Liskevich and Howard are the tackles. 2 good Walters and Southwick, the linebackers. The secondary has Faison and Walker on the corners, Pearson and Rozalowicz at halfback, and Brian Hirosian is the safety. Second and 7 Calgary. The attempted draw play with Willie Burton. He keeps on struggling, but is dropped for a loss by Leon Liskevich, the first man to make contact. Liskevich, number 56. 3-0. The Calgary Stampeders lead Winnipeg with 3:56 remaining in this opening quarter. Cyril McFall standing back at his own 26 in this 3rd down punting situation. He got a pretty good rush and got away an excellent kick. It sails over the head of Richard Crump. Crump waited for some blocking to form and then was dropped at the 9-yard line. John Pelizetti was there to make the stop. Somewhat reminiscent of a week ago, Bob, when Winnipeg had difficulty in fielding those punts by Cyril McFall.
But I don't think they've got the same kind of reason or excuse this time, because the wind is not really that much of a factor. Last week there was a swirling wind, really made it difficult to judge. This time McFall just hoisted that one, went 64 yards and only got 10 yards on the return. And once again, Winnipeg is having to start deep down in their own end.
Bobby McFall has been doing that all year. He's just a very underrated kicker.
Sideline pass intended for Gord Patterson, incomplete. It's a cold day here at McMahon Stadium, and at that Winnipeg bench, they're attempting to stay warm. That is Liskevich. We've got heaters at both benches, and the field is in excellent shape. Jack Goda was telling us that they vacuumed the field about a half a dozen times this week in an attempt to remove all ice particles and provide the best possible playing surface. They've done that. Here's Jay Washington on the draw. Washington tried to get outside. Al Burleson came up to make the tackle, but the man who had a key hand in that stop was Terry Irvin. 2:53 the time left in this first quarter, and we've got a timeout. Doug providing some sideline antics as Winnipeg moves into punting formation with Bernie Ruoff standing back at the 2-yard line. A low snap. He hangs this one high to Tom Forzani at midfield. Forzani is stopped at the 53-yard line. Ron Lancaster, it's rather difficult, and that's the situation Winnipeg has been in this first quarter, huddling with the goalpost as the 13th man.
Tough place to start. You know, that one drive Winnipeg had that with the aid of the face mask penalty, they got the ball out to the 40, and then an untimely interception, which, you know, they usually are going to hurt you. It just offset everything that they'd done. They ended up again starting back on their 10-yard line.
So once again, Calgary has good field position at the 53. Hufnagel throwing deep for Armstead. He's in behind Walker, but Walker recovers to make an excellent play. Merv Walker, who has been criticized at various times during the course of this season, has made a couple of big plays in this ball game against Willie Armstead.
And the other tight end, Bob Vickers, was wide open in the center area, but Hufnagel chooses to go deep to Armstead on the flag pattern, and Walker just gets there in time and bats that ball out of bounds.
2nd and 10, Calgary. They're at Winnipeg's 53-yard line. Hufnagel to Vickers. He's wide open in that middle area. He has a first down at the 26. Ron Southwick made the tackle.
And I'm sure that Vickers must have come back to the huddle and told Hufnagel, hey, I was wide open last play. And they come right back to him. Here we see, bottom of the screen, number 70, Vickers, takes a shot from Ron Southwick and then just curls in between them. And he's wide open. So is Tom Porzani, the wide receiver on that side.
Stampeders with the first down now at Winnipeg's 26. They lead by 3 and are threatening to score more. Here's the pass to Porzani. He's got another first down. Still on his feet. He fumbles the ball. Recovered by Sykes. Down to the goal line.
When things are going right, things go really right. Tom Porzani was wide open on the play, running the little square out pattern. Made the catch. Got a good hit placed on him. Ball pops loose. We take another look at it here. Hufnagel rolling to his right. All kinds of time to throw. Porzani wide open, makes a couple of great moves. And then I believe that was Pearson came in, knocked the ball loose, and Sykes is right there to recover it and take it down to the 1-yard line.
Ron Southwick, the injured Winnipeg player, being treated by trainer Chuck Badcock. Jim Hyten will come in his spot.
And Don, in case people were wondering there, that ball was fumbled. It actually went forward, but this year in the CFL, that does not get taken back to the point of fumble. It's where that ball is finally blown dead. If Sykes had have scored, it would have counted for 6 points.
Well, Sykes did get down to the 1-yard line before he was taken out of bounds by Brian Herosian. James Sykes has had quite a year, running for 1,020 yards. And this is certainly an enthusiastic capacity crowd here at McMahon Stadium. They've waited a while to watch their football heroes perform in postseason play. 1971 was the last time they made it, and they're savoring every moment. They'll be even more enthusiastic if they can put 6 on the board here. Burton inside for the touchdown. The Stampeders lead it 9-0.
Take another look at this. Nothing too fancy. Blacking straight ahead. Burton just puts his head down. Another testament to the kind of a job that offensive line has been doing for Calgary all season long. Great blocking. They just drove that defensive line back into the end zone. Burton simply had to fall over the goal line.
Cyril McFall will attempt to add the 10th Calgary point of this opening quarter. 47 seconds, the time remaining. He is successful. And almost all of this opening quarter has been played in the Winnipeg half of the field. Willie Burton putting the capper on that touchdown drive with the 1-yard run for the major score. Here's the run. Let's watch it.
Anything to get the fans heated up is going to be welcome here today. Talking about being hot, looking at the statistics, Calgary has only lost 1 game in the last 9 that they have played. And that, by the way, was to Saskatchewan by 1 point.
You know, when you look back on this 1978 season for the Calgary Stampeders, I think only twice were they beaten by teams in their own conference.
Don, just a note here of interest. Sorry to butt in on you, but go ahead. I'll get back to you.
Big kickoff. It hit the goalpost. The ball is finally picked up, but the ball is whistled dead as soon as it hits the upright.
In case like that, the ball hits the upright, had not touched the field of play before it hit the upright. It's immediately blown dead, and it becomes a first down on the 25-yard line.
To tell you, these fans at McMahon Stadium this afternoon are also bundled up against the elements. Good old Stickum. first down. Harry Knight is going to throw. Over the middle, intercepted by Falconer. There are penalty flags on the play. Falconer is decked. There's another flag. Red nylon all over this artificial turf. It could be that there will be an interference charge, the initial assessment against Calgary.
Yes, Don, I think you're right. There was pass interference.
Offensive pass interference.
Offensive pass interference.
And there's also a holding infraction against Joe Poplawski. That infraction took place after the interception. So it'll take a moment or two for Don Barker to sort all of this out. Let's listen.
Defense pass interference. And holding. Calgary defensive pass interference. Okay. And we had a Calgary holding after the interception.
Winnipeg holding after the interception. Holding number 71.
So, Don, I think the story you painted a little earlier has changed just a little bit in that it seems to be defensive pass interference and also holding against Calgary, which would be a big break for Winnipeg.
Well, it certainly resulted in a conference among the officials and players from both teams who are grouped around head man Don Barker. It is still Winnipeg ball, point of last scrimmage. There was both offensive and defensive pass interference, apparently. 3 flags on the play. So the offsetting penalties, perhaps we can pick them up here, will give Winnipeg a first down.
Over the middle here, as Harry Knight throws this ball, there was pass interference right there. I believe that was Scorty Patterson that got knocked down. And then Poplawski at the bottom of the screen looks like he's trying out a new wrestling hold on one of the Calgary defenders.
A big break for the Blue Bombers. They retain possession. First down. Harry Knight in trouble. Lewis catches him from behind.
This has been the confrontation over the past 3 games that has kept on going, and it's Reggie Lewis just turning Jeff Hart right around, getting in on Harry Knight, making the big sack.
Ray Yock looking out onto the field of play and calling quarterback Harry Knight over, and that is the end of the first quarter. The Calgary Stampeders in front of Winnipeg 10-0. Play of the second quarter. Winnipeg attempts to reverse with Richard Crump, and Ollie Bakken was there to make the tackle.
Big play by Richard Crump, lined up at the bottom of your screen here. He comes on the reverse all the way around the outside, but middle linebacker Ollie Bakken does not get fooled, rides him down, and it's a third down and a good 14, 15 yards to go.
The Stampeders in front by 10, and they've been dominant in the statistic department as well. Kirk and Forzani are back to receive this third down kick from Bernie Ruoff. Ruoff gets away, an excellent kick. Forzani retreats all the way to his own 25. There's also a penalty flag on the play as Forzani keeps on fighting up to the 40-yard line. 2 flags, and I think it's going to be an infraction against the Calgary Stampeders.
Yes, Don. John Bonk got himself a little push in the back.
Blocking from the rear, charged against the Calgary Stampeders after that 64-yard kick by Bernie Ruoff. So the Stampeders are forced deeper into their own zone. Let's take a look
on the left-hand side of the screen. John Bonk gets a big shove from number 54, Bob Lubig. That's what the infraction was, and now it's Calgary's turn to start marching it from deep down in their own end.
Calvin Kirk comes out wide to the left. Tommy Forzani is flanked wide right. And the ball carrier is James Sykes, and he's stopped by Greg Johnson, Winnipeg's right defensive end, after a gain about 5 yards.
Good cross block here. Center blocks out, and Willie Thomas, the guard, slips behind him and opens up a big hole for Burden. But unfortunately for Calgary, it didn't break wide open as it might have.
Going deep for Perzani, out of bounds. Perzani had Vince Faison matching him stride for stride. Lyle Wozniacki was in on quarterback John Hufnagel, applying pressure from his left defensive end spot.
Good pass coverage in this play by Vince Faison, running step for step with Perzani. That ball, because of Wozniacki's rush, was simply overthrown to the sideline.
Stampeders are forced into a punting situation as McFall stands back at his own 3-yard line. A low kick that is taken by Holmes. Holmes waiting for that blocking to form. This man is dangerous on this punt return unit. He fumbles. The ball is loose recovered by Calgary. Holmes ran into his own man, Bob Toogood, and that's what caused the ball to pop away. You'll see it here.
We run this forward a little bit. Holmes makes the catch. He wants to get back around the top where the line is being set up, busts through, runs into Toogood, and actually kicks that ball forward. And it's Calgary's ball.
There's also a penalty on the play as the ball is moved out to the 50-yard line. The rough play infraction against Winnipeg gives Calgary a first down at the 50. A big turnover, and one that could have been extremely costly to the Blue Bombers. Going deep for Kirk, knocked away. Merv Walker was back there along with Brian Hirosian, both of them getting up to knock it away from Calvin Kirk. You know, the way that punt return was setting up, it looked as though Mike Holmes may have been able to find some room down those sidelines, and regardless, Winnipeg would have had their best field position of the day. Had that ball not squirted away, as it is, the Stampeders have it at their own 50 on second down.
Merv Walker does a great job here once again of knocking that ball away on that deep pass, and that's something that Hufnagel has gone to quite frequently in this first half, is the long bomb.
Second and 10, another passing situation over the middle. It's almost picked up. Bob Vickers was the intended receiver, and Gary Rosalowicz was the man who came through to knock it away.
Rosalowicz timed that one pretty well. He was coming over Vickers' back just as the ball arrived, and the official said that, yes, his timing was just perfect.
12:04 the time left in this second quarter. Calgary in front by a score of 10-0. Richard Crump goes back along with Mike Holmes. Cyril McFall, an impressive 45.6-yard average so far today. Holmes has to chase this one down. I alluded to the fact that this man is dangerous every time he touches the ball on those punt returns. It looked as though he was going to be limited to absolutely no gain, and he managed to make a sizable return of 17 yards. Ernie?
Mind everyone, about halftime, the coaches across Canada have picked a defensive all-star team, and we're going to show that to you. And, of course, Bob LaRose will be around to analyze that first half of play and bring you the highlights. But the defensive all-stars will prove interesting to all our fans across the country.
Winnipeg this time operating from that double slot formation. Harry Knight throwing to Richard Crump over the middle for a Winnipeg first down. Crump still struggling, and he gets out to the 52-yard line, finally halted by Terry Irvin.
And Richard Crump came wide open on this play. They're running from that spread formation. Here's Richard Crump down at the bottom. When we run this forward a little bit, he takes a hit from the back. And if we'll hold it right here, look at Richard Crump. There is nobody around him in that middle defensive secondary.
Winnipeg with a first down. The ball at their own 52. Movement at the line of scrimmage. Reggie Lewis is going to be charged in the offside. Not much doubt about that, as he was into that Winnipeg backfield before Harry Knight got the snap from center John Bond.
Don, it's interesting. I believe it was Lewis who commented that he doesn't jump offside. The center simply snaps the ball too soon.
The 5-yard infraction moves the ball to the 53. It'll be a repeat of the first down with now 5 yards to go. Tommy Walker comes into the ball game. Leo Ezerins is also in there as Winnipeg goes to the double tight end formation once more. The ball is fumbled by Jay Washington, who's got it. I think Winnipeg recovered. Ollie Bakken was the man who made the hit, and some very alert play there on the part of John McCorkindale, who pounced on that football as it popped away from Jay Washington. We'll be back with Winnipeg's first down play right after this. Calgary leads 10-0. Blue Bombers with their deepest penetration of the afternoon, a first down at the 46 of the Calgary Stampeders. One of the big problems the Bombers have had today is hanging on to that football. No room. Ed McElhaney from his defensive end spot came in to hit John McCorkindale right at the line of scrimmage.
We can't see it here, but Crump and Poplawski lined up at the bottom, lined up in a tandem I formation so that they couldn't key as to which receiver was going to be inside or outside. Just a little bit of a wrinkle by Winnipeg to try and confuse that defensive backfield.
Well, this is the third successive weekend they've played each other, and Winnipeg trying to do something just a little different. There's that underhand pass again, the shovel pass to McCorkindale. He fumbled the ball, I believe, but managed to get it back with John Helton over there to make the tackle. That's something you really don't see much of, that little shovel pass, that underhand throw, and twice now Winnipeg has used that with Harry Knight flipping it ahead to John McCorkindale.
You know, we used to use it a number of years ago, and they let both the defensive ends come in. Both Lewis and McElhaney are let go, and then the guards pick up everybody else, but it's good tackle. Knocked that ball loose. I believe it was John Helton that knocked it loose.
Terry Luck has come in to hold the ball for Bernie Ruoff on this field goal attempt. The kick is wide. In the end zone, Tom Forzani initially indicated that he would attempt to get out of there. He simply concedes a single point. Ron Lancaster, that little shovel pass is something you really don't see much of anymore.
You don't see it too much because of the fact that most of the defensive end don't charge as hard as Reggie Lewis does. When you get an end, it'll charge as hard as he does, and he habitually goes to the outside. You're going to get a natural crease in there, and then it's up to whether your guard can handle that guy to the inside. So what they do is let Reggie go and then come down on the tackle, and if they can get the crease, it'll be there. But the only reason you do it is Reggie's such a hard charger, and he goes outside all the time.
Well, John McCorkindale is getting much more work in this ball game than he has had all season. Of course, with the field goal attempt being wide, the ball comes out to the point of last scrimmage, and that is the 39-yard line, and Jim Sykes drives straight ahead to about the 44. Harry Walters was there to make the tackle. Correct that. Willie Burden, the ball carrier, not James Sykes. Terry Irvin attempting to keep warm at that Calgary bench. For a defensive back, he's got a lot of padding on those hands.
He injured his hand last game. I think it was the thumb area, and he's got that hand really well padded up.
James Sykes trying to get wide. He finds the room. He's gone. Goodbye. Yards for the James Sykes touchdown. And you see just how valuable that man is to the Calgary Stampeders.
Winnipeg is blitzing on this. We run it forward just a little bit. A holder right there. Linebackers are coming in. Humpnagel does a great job of reading this play and flips it to the outside. And if we hold it right there, super block by Kelvin Kirk finally sprung Sykes loose all the way down the field.
67 yards for the James Sykes touchdown, with Cyril McFall now trying the point after. And it's a 17-1 ball game with 7:48 the time remaining in this second quarter. We'll be back with the Calgary kickoff right after this message. I'll tell you, that horse has had a pretty good workout down those sidelines so far this afternoon. And James Sykes gave Winnipeg quite a workout with that 67-yard run. The Calgary Stampeders preparing to kick off. Vince Faison is back along with Richard Crump. Yesterday, of course, the Montreal Alouettes defeated the Hamilton Tiger Cats 35-20. Next Sunday afternoon, you'll see that Eastern Final on the CBC television network. Ottawa against Montreal. Richard Crump getting some running room up the middle and fighting his way out to the 47-yard line. Bernie Morrison was the man who finally brought him down, but not before he had returned that kickoff 37 yards.
For hockey fans, a reminder that it's Hockey Night in Canada on the 18th, St. Louis at Toronto, and that will be on the national network. Montreal and Vancouver will be played on Quebec and BC networks. So keep that in mind and check the listings in your area.
Well, the only action that Terry Luck has seen so far is coming in to hold on that wide field goal attempt. Harry Knight is still the quarterback, throwing it out, intended for Poplawski, and he was being covered over there by Terry Irvin. It will be 2nd and 10. Ron, it doesn't appear really as though Harry Knight is throwing that ball too well.
No, he didn't get much on that one, you know, and he's been out there a while. He's probably getting a little cold, and if his shoulder's bothering him at all, it's going to get a little tougher for him each time. He's got to stay on the field long enough to get warm. They're just not moving the ball.
Harry Knight, of course, has not seen any action, as we mentioned at the start, since the 18th of July. Swinging it out to McCorkindale. McCorkindale is brought down at the 45, a loss of a couple of yards by John Palazetti.
And a super tackle by Palazetti, who hit him high around the shoulders and just stopped him cold. John McCorkindale is a big running back. He's 6'2" and 215, and Palazetti just stopped him in his tracks.
Harry Knight, prior to going down early in the year, had completed 16 of 30 pass attempts and had thrown for 1 touchdown. But he does have difficulty throwing that ball. Forzani and Kirk collided. Forzani finally fields it, and Forzani returns it to the 28. 6:26, the time remaining in this second quarter. And on November 26th, a brand new automobile will go to the defensive star of the Grey Cup game. And you'll see that Grey Cup game, of course, on the CBC television network.
Don, I think it's an opportune time to wish Sarah Yock a happy birthday. It's her birthday today, and I'm sure she was looking for a great performance for the Bombers, and I'm sure that Ray would like to give her that birthday present, but if it doesn't work out, happy birthday to Sarah. She's a great girl.
Penalty flags fly as Burton is upset at the 30-yard line by Billy Howard.
Howard has certainly anchored that defensive line down well for Winnipeg, but one man can't do it all.
Penalty against the Calgary Stampeders.
Calgary holding
the charge. This is the 4th time that these two teams have met this year. Calgary has won all 3 previous games.
There we see the work of both Howard and his counterpart Greg Johnson on that defensive end position. They did a good job that time of stopping up that play.
I think the holding infraction there against Tom Humphrey, who brought down Johnson. They swing it out to James Sykes. He couldn't hang on to the ball. And the Winnipeg defensive players feeling that the play was still alive, and now we have a little bit of a punch-up taking place.
Oh, that's silly. That is really silly. Because they know that as soon as that punch is thrown, it's out of the ball game. That's not going to help their chances at all.
Unnecessary roughness being charged against Winnipeg. Billy Howard was the man who was swinging away, and I think he's very fortunate that he was not charged with an ejection here.
Very definitely. There was a question as to whether or not that ball was a fumble or not. That's why Sykes went back after the ball. He didn't make the catch. He picks it up just to be sure, and Howard unloads on him.
However, the unnecessary roughness took place after this. You see Wozniacki up, and there you see Howard going at Thomas.
That's Sykes who jumps on Wozniacki's back to try and calm things down. And it all ends up in a first down for Calgary on their own 33-yard line.
Those are the problems that have plagued Gray York. Just when it appeared that his Bombers had held the Stampeders back in their own zone, that penalty gives Calgary a first down. Willie Burton trying to go up the middle. He has about 4. Next Saturday afternoon on the CBC network, you'll see the Canadian College Bowl, and this year it will be Queens against the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds. Queens winning the Atlantic Bowl today, 32-10 over St. Francis Xavier's to the Queens Golden Gales. And their coach, Doug Hargraves, our congratulations. It's the first time they've been in a College Bowl since 1968. Frank Smith and his University of British Columbia Thunderbirds, who beat Wilfrid Laurier on Friday night, 25-16. It's their first trip to a College Bowl. Sykes taking that little swing pass, fighting there with Rozalowicz, and Rozalowicz, with some help from Southwick, manages to make the tackle.
Good play by Rozalowicz, not committing himself, not diving at those legs because Sykes can move so quickly. He just held him up until everybody else got there to give him a hand.
17-1, the Stampeders lead it, 4:32, the time left in this first half.
Don, you were referring to UBC and their trip to the College Bowl. They'll be busy the following week, as well as the renewal of the Shrum Bowl out on the West Coast between Simon Fraser University and UBC. That'll be played at 8 o'clock Saturday, November 25th, with all the proceeds going to the United Way.
Third down kick taken by Holmes. Holmes looking for some blocking help, picking his way through. This man is always dangerous every time he touches that ball. Another big run back, and Winnipeg has pretty good field position. Bernie Morrison is finally the man who brought down Mike Holmes, who at times almost seems to float as he's running with that ball. Very deceptive speed.
Certainly is, and he doesn't seem to be suffering at all from the pulled hamstring that he has had. We see Holmes here. He just tends to glide in, wait until he sees that opening, and then he turns it on. He's running very smoothly, picking his way downfield.
Winnipeg with a first down, the ball at the 43. What a lift it would give the Bombers if they could come up with something here. Holmes in difficulty, brought down at the 45. There is also a penalty flag.
Now, that looked like it might be offensive interference. Gordy Patterson out there started to block a little bit before the ball was ever thrown.
Legal procedure charged against Winnipeg.
We run this forward a little bit. Gordy Patterson, at the bottom of your screen, goes out and is actually making a block before the pass is actually thrown. But it was just a legal procedure that was the call.
It will be 2nd and 12 as the penalty is declined by the Stampeders. Pass on the far side of the field, incomplete. And Randy Jonason was pursuing quarterback Harry Knight. The intended receiver was Mike Holmes, still on one knee over on the far side of the field.
John McCorkindale on this play, the young Canadian running back, does a good job of blocking and allowing Harry Knight to get outside. He takes on Reggie Lewis and ties him up real well. Jay Washington comes along to give him a hand as well, but Harry Knight definitely is not being able to get much stuff on that football.
Bernie Ruoff lines up in field goal formation with Terry Luck holding at the 52. He has the length. It is good. Bernie Ruoff with a 52-yard field goal, and it's 17-4 with 3:09 remaining in this first half. We'll be back right after this. I suppose would have been a key word in Ray Yawk's preparation for this playoff encounter. He lost his starting quarterback, Ralph Brock, a week ago here at McMahon Stadium. He lost backup man Terry Luck. And this week, Harry Knight and Terry Luck both had their problems in throwing the ball as they prepared for this game. James Sykes runs it out to the 42-yard line. Winnipeg trying to throw a few new wrinkles in offensively, mainly because of the fact that Knight and Luck have difficulty throwing the ball.
Don, it's during the course of the season between Luck and Knight, they've only thrown 48 passes and only completed 23.
2nd and 3 for the Stampeders. Sykes again, stopped at the 45, very close to a first down. There's also a penalty flag on the play. 2:28 is the time left in the first half. 17-4, the Stampeders lead it. Burton and Sykes have scored the touchdowns. We'll wait for referee Don Barker. Face mask is the infraction against Winnipeg.
It has been those penalties, those types of penalties that come at inappropriate moments that have really killed Winnipeg all season long.
Well, you see fans lying in the snow that surrounds McMahon Stadium, trying to get a good vantage point on the banks outside the stadium area, the seating area. Willie Burton is driven back. Billy Howard and Greg Johnson appeared to make the initial contact. 2:23 is the time left in this first half. 17-4 the score in favor of the Stampeders.
That defensive line, when they have an opportunity, has certainly been coming on strong. It seems to be the quick openers that have been hurting them the most.
Second and 10. Hofnagel getting plenty of time. Now he has to run it out of there. He gets away from Wisniewski, throws to Sykes, and Sykes is taken out of bounds at the midfield stripe.
Don, that was Calgary throwing in their own little wrinkles. They came up, lined up in the power I, just like Winnipeg has done, to show that they're not going to be outdone. And Hufnagel simply sprints out using those backs out in front of him. Defensive secondary for Winnipeg did a good job of picking up receivers. And finally, he spots Sykes on the sideline, who very nearly picked up the first down.
Sykes did an excellent job of maintaining his balance as he stumbled down those sidelines. It will be 3rd and a yard and a half. The Stampeders won the first regular season meeting 29-21 in Winnipeg. And then on the 29th of October, they won by a score of 28-24, again in Winnipeg. And here at home, they wrapped up second place a week ago, 22-14. They lead here 17-4 with 1:37 left in the first half. It's Holmes again. And Holmes is upset at the 21-yard line by Robin Harbour. Well, I don't think all Calgarians would go quite that far. Sykes for mayor. However, He has had a brilliant year, as that statistic will attest.
McFall has been doing an excellent job of kicking that football. That one was 45 yards, and he's been keeping Winnipeg pinned down deep in their own end most of this first half.
Harry Knight throwing over the middle. It's almost picked off by Faulkner, intended for Gordy Patterson.
Good play by Faulkner. Calgary was in a 4-deep zone. Faulkner, having dropped off from that halfback position, spread 4 of their defenders across, and he came up and very nearly intercepted that ball.
Again, as Bob LaRose has pointed out, Ron Lancaster, Harry Knight really seems to have difficulties putting anything on the throw.
Yeah, there was nothing on that one again, and the Calgary defensive backs aren't going to respect those receivers much more, and they're just going to start crowding them because he can't get any zip on it.
Swinging it out to Crump. He's caught immediately. Palizzetti and Ollie Bakken were both there.
It's becoming total domination, Don, by that Calgary defensive unit. Very frustrated Harry Knight going off, and a very elated Ollie Bakken, the leader of that defense, who has done just a super job today along with everybody else in that defense.
1:18 the time left in this first half. A reminder of our halftime show. The coaches will pick the defensive all-stars in the country, and Bob LaRose will be along with the first half highlights. Calgary was coming with the big rush. The ball bounces to Forzani, and Forzani is downed immediately. There's also a penalty flag. Leo Ezerins was the man who made the initial contact.
Don, I think perhaps it was Bernie Morrison being called for either holding or clipping against Jim Heighton on the play.
There's also a penalty flag back in the Winnipeg backfield where Bernie Ruoff was kicking from.
That might mean that there was some illegal interference against Ruoff. They cannot hit him until he crosses the line of scrimmage. And if they held him up after he kicked while he was still in his own backfield, that would be an interference call.
Well, let's see what Don Barker calls. Interference against Calgary.
And I guess that negates the second penalty that was called further downfield.
The interference taking place before that second flag went flying. And it's going to be a first down for Winnipeg as they retain possession at their own 33. 54 seconds is the time left. It would certainly give the Bombers a big lift if they could get that ball into position to even kick a field goal. The attempted draw play with Jay Washington. Washington runs it out to the 42. Blaine Lamoureux made the tackle. It's going to be close to a first down.
Once again, Harry Knight seems to be a little hesitant to throw that ball, going to the draw play instead of trying to get that ball out to the sidelines and get it out of bounds to stop the clock.
Ezerins and Walker come in that double tight end formation again, with Patterson and Poplawski going to the Winnipeg bench. Winnipeg in that power I, second and about a yard.
This is a time for a sneak pass.
McCorkindale drives it to the 45, and that should be good enough for the first down, depending on where they position the ball. Again, coming back in, Poplawski and Patterson with Walker and Ezerins going to the bench once more.
It was in that situation last week that Winnipeg went for the fake run and threw the ball to Tommy Walker for a big play that eventually scored their only offensive touchdown. That time they decided that with 25 seconds to go, they wanted that first down first.
Knight throwing over the middle. It's intercepted by the Stampeders. Al Burleson is the man who comes up with it. It was intended for Gord Patterson again. I think that's the third time when they've gone to Patterson that ball has been deflected.
We take a look at the defensive coverage here of Calgary. You see the deep zone. Burleson just playing that center fielder position. The ball goes right through Gordy Patterson's hands. Burleson tips it up in the air and makes the catch. And as Don says, it seems every time they go to Gordy Patterson today, something bad happens to Winnipeg.
time left. Hofnagel moving up and throwing off the fingertips of Tommy Forzani. And 5 seconds still remain in this first half with the Stampeders in front 17-4.
Don, that was really the first time that there was any mounted pressure on Hofnagel. He had to step up into the pocket and throw that ball. Perhaps hurt him enough to get that ball a little bit overthrown. This is something Winnipeg's going to have to do much better in that second half.
This should be the final play of the first half. Hofnagel's going for broke with Forzani. It's intercepted. Picked off by Vince Faison. Faison is going to run out of room at the Winnipeg bench and also run out of time. That should end the first half. There's the gun. And it's a 17-4 halftime lead. The Stampeders take to the dressing room. We'll be back with our halftime show right after this.
Western semifinal, and the winner will go on to the Western final against the Edmonton Eskimos. As you all know, this is awards time during a CFL season, and the Schenley Awards will be announced during Grey Cup week and the Grey Cup festivities. It's all part of that week. Well, CBC has had its own survey in the past couple of weeks. We've polled coaches across the country to find out just who they think the best football players in the country really are. We've chosen two teams, the defensive team, which we'll show you just a little bit later, and the offensive team, which will be shown to you during the Eastern Final. We'll be back with the defensive squad right after this. Defensive All-Stars. Reggie Lewis of Calgary, number 60, is a superb defensive end. At 6'1", 217, not that big, but he's a hitter with great speed. He's only 24. David Boone of Edmonton is a bigger defensive end at 6'4", 248, but still has lots of speed, and he found a home in Edmonton after stints with BC, Ottawa, and Hamilton. He came from Minnesota in 1975. At tackle, 31-year-old John Helton of Calgary. A contract dispute with the club has not diminished his intensity. He's having a great season. An 8-time All-Star and 2-time Schenley winner. Edmonton's Dave Fennell is the other tackle. He's an Edmonton boy who went to college in North Dakota and returned to take law at the University of Alberta in Edmonton. A CFL All-Star, he's 6'4", 250. Some say he's the best defensive lineman in the CFL. The middle linebacker is 25-year-old Dan Kepley of the Eskimos, who won the Schenley Award last season as the best defensive player. Kepley has been with Edmonton 4 years. He was drafted by Dallas, but came to Edmonton instead. An All-American from East Carolina University. Tom Town made it at one of the outside linebacker spots. This is his 4th year with the Eskimos after a great college career at the University of Alberta in Edmonton. There he was an all-star running back and linebacker. Great speed and agility. Linebacker Glenn Jackson of the BC Lions has just completed his 3rd year with the Lions. He had a super college career at Simon Fraser. He's only 24, so he'll be around for some time. And he goes on an extensive weightlifting program. He's very strong. At cornerback, Edmonton's Joe Holloman, who missed most of last year with a separated shoulder. An all-star from Arkansas State and a high draft with Minnesota. Holloman has excellent speed and good hands. There's lots of good talent at the cornerback slot. Ray Odoms of Calgary, who played only basketball at Alabama, is in his 3rd year as a pro. And he went from Winnipeg to Saskatchewan to Calgary, where he blossomed into a fierce defensive back. At the halfbacks, from Edmonton, Ed Jones, who was drafted by Dallas 3 years ago, then sent to Buffalo. He came to Edmonton in hopes of playing regularly. He was injured most of last year, but this year he's been solid. He was a star at Rutgers. Edmonton's Greg Butler fills the other defensive back slot. This is his 2nd year after a fine college career at Howard University and Philadelphia of the World Football League and Los Angeles of the NFL. He also has very good speed. The safety is Al Burleson, an all-coast all-star from the University of Washington. He has good speed and hits hard, and he joined the Stampeders in mid-'76. He's only 24, good size, 6'2", 190. Those were the Western Defensive All-Stars, and we'd like to remind you once again, they were chosen on a special CBC survey of coaches across the country. Now let's look at the Eastern Defensive All-Stars, and they're led at defensive end by Mike Panucci. And he has settled in with Ottawa after going through 3 NFL teams in Montreal. He's 6'4", 240, and he really gets after the quarterbacks. Bruce Smith of Toronto is the other defensive end. He's 29 years old, a veteran, and he came back after a serious knee operation last year. He's the anchor man in that Argo defense. He came to Canada in 1972, went through Hamilton, Edmonton, and Ottawa. The tackles include Mike Raines of Ottawa, a huge man with good speed. At 6'6", 265, he's very difficult to control. He's a former Alabama star in his 4th year with the Riders. He's only 25. Glenn Weir of Montreal is a London, Ontario boy who went to Montreal from Hamilton in '72, and last year he was nominated in 3 Shenley categories, one of the best in Canada. Another Montreal linebacker made it, Carl Cornell. He was an All-American middle guard from West Virginia in 1970, played in Winnipeg in '71, then went to Montreal in '72. When we talk about hitters, boy, his name always comes up. The linebackers include Chuck Zapek of Montreal, a punishing type of defensive player who was All-Canadian last year, and he has the great range needed to play linebacker. He's 6'1", 218. Brad Carr of Ottawa comes to the Rough Riders from Virginia. Not exceptionally big at 6'1", 225, but perfect for a linebacker. He's having a fine season after starting the year as a backup man. He has great outside speed. The cornerbacks are from Toronto. Eric Harris at 23 has a great future. The former Memphis State University star is a legitimate All-American and a high draft for Kansas City in the NFL. The Argos got there first. He has great speed. Jim Marshall of the Argos is the other cornerback who came back strong after injuries in '77. Former Saskatchewan back was a Western All-Star and played out his option to join the Argos last season. Larry Bruin of Ottawa is one of the defensive backs. Good size, 6'2", 200 from Rice University. He's in his 2nd year with the Riders. A fine tackler, also runs back kickoffs. Great future. Dickie Harris of Montreal has been All-Canadian since 1974. He came to Montreal in '73. Unfortunately, he was injured in that Eastern semifinal yesterday. He came to Canada instead of the New York Jets. He made the Eastern All-Stars. Randy Rhino is the safety, and this Montreal star is pure excitement. He's a Georgia Tech All-American 3 times, the first player in Georgia Tech history to get that honor. He runs with abandon. And those are the Eastern All-Star defensive players as chosen by the coaches across the country. We'll be back in just a moment with Don Whitman, Bob LaRose, and Ronnie Lancaster.
17-4 is the halftime score. The Stampeders in front of Winnipeg, and when things go right, it seems they just continue rolling along. And the Stampeders got a break early in the ball game on a fumble by Forzani, recovered by Sykes.
Very definitely a real big break, because Forzani, first of all, was wide open on the play, makes a good reception, makes a good run. Reggie Pearson comes in from behind, knocks the ball loose, but the man right on the spot happens to be James Sykes, who takes it all the way down to the 1-yard line before Brian Erosion pulls him down. Burton scores in the next play and really had Winnipeg in a hole. They also have not been able to solve the problem of Calgary's defensive line. Reggie Lewis on this play breaks in, pulls Harry Knight down, and they've really dominated the first half.
Fumbles have really been costly for Winnipeg. For example, this one by Mike Holmes when he ran into his own man, Bob Toogood, and it was recovered by the kicker, Cyril McFall. Winnipeg would have had good field position here.
That was a real big break, or a bad break for Winnipeg, because, as you say, they would have been in reasonably deep territory, and it would have made a big change in the momentum of the ball game. But momentum kept on swinging Calgary's way. Quick pitch to Sykes coming around the corner. Gets a great block here at the bottom of the screen by Kirk and Razaloch. And now it's just a foot race, and nobody's going to catch James Sykes for the big touchdown, and that made it 17-4 7-3, I believe, at that time, and Winnipeg came back and got another single point to make it 17-4 at halftime.
17-4 is the halftime score, and we'll be back right after we pause for this message.
Reunion.
There are some folks who might worry of us commenting continually about Harry Knight having difficulty throwing the ball, but when you're in a quarterback, Ron, you better be able to throw it.
Yeah, you have to be able to move the ball in the air because Calgary's defense is too tough to just go in and consistently say you're going to run the football on them. So you have to be able to move it through the air, and he just doesn't seem to be able to get anything on the ball right now, and it's too bad because, you know, Winnipeg's had a good year, and you know, Harry's been out most of the season, and with Ralph sitting around not doing anything right now, it really hurts him.
Bob, do you want to put Ron on the spot?
Well, I'd just like to ask him, if you were Ray Ock right now, what are you going to have to do as the coach to get this team back in the ballgame?
Well, I'll tell you, I think he better just relax and not try to get rich too quick right away. He's better come out, I think, and just run a few draws, try to work outside a little wider away from those linebackers and stay away from Al Burleson inside the field, because if you don't, they're going to have a few more interceptions. They tip him up, he'll get them.
What about the power eye?
I think it's just about time to forget it. You're down now. You got 30 minutes left in the season. You better go out and start. Let's move the football, and I think you're going to have to go upstairs to do it.
Would you throw Terry Luck in there, or would you? I guess the situation must be that he is hurting badly.
If he could throw it all, and you know, he'd have to go because of the fact that Harry just isn't able to get the ball, any zip on it, and so if Terry's not playing, he evidently must be a little worse off.
Okay, it's 17-4 at halftime, and we're just about set to start the second half of this ball game, and the Stampeders have dominated statistically as they do on the scoreboard. 180 yards total offense for Calgary as compared to 62 yards for Winnipeg.
I think the big stat there, Don, is the 113 yards of rushing, including that big 67-yard burst by Sykes. Winnipeg has managed only 41 yards out of their power eye and split formations and have only accomplished 28 yards passing in that first half.
The Blue Bombers still at their bench, and they're going to kick off to the Calgary Stampeders. They trail by 13 points. The scoring summary reads this way. McFall, a 40-yard field goal. Burden a touchdown, with McFall adding the convert for a 10-0 first quarter lead. In the second quarter, Ruoff's 53-yard single, followed by James Sykes' 67-yard touchdown run, McFall's convert, and then Ruoff's 52-yard field goal. It's 17-4 as we prepare to start the second half of this ball game. For one of these teams, the season will come to an end. The other will then prepare for the Western Final next Saturday against the Edmonton Eskimos. Sykes and Calvin Kirk are back for Bernie Ruoff's second half kickoff. Kirk is the man who starts out with the ball, and he's brought down at the 29-yard line by Duncan McKinley. A 48-yard kickoff and a 12-yard run back by Calvin Kirk.
And the test is going to be defensively for Winnipeg to try and stop that running game of Calgary's.
First and 10 with James Sykes trying to go wide. He got away from Pearson, but then Pearson does recover and gets back into the play. He forces Sykes to turn back into about 3 Winnipeg tacklers at the 30-yard line. Harry Walters came over to assist.
There's quite a statistic, 96 yards on only 8 carries.
That's an average of 12 yards per carry. Not a bad statistic at all for James Sykes during the first half of this ball game. It's 2nd and 9. Hufnagel throwing for Kirk. He's caught by Faison and taken out of bounds, but that should be a first down at the 40.
And that was great timing on that play. Hufnagel rolling to the right, threw the ball just as Kirk broke the pattern off, squared it off to the outside. Beautiful timing. Nice play to see.
First down, Calgary. The ball is now at the 41. Tell you, there are an awful lot of fans here with some rather interesting signs this afternoon at McMahon Stadium. Some of them showing a great deal of imagination. The Stampeders run it out to the 46-yard line with Willie Burton.
And that's just straight ahead power running. Offensive line taking the defensive line on one-on-one, giving that ball to your running back and let them pick a hole and go straight ahead. It's proving very effective for Calgary.
2nd and 5 for the Stamps at their own 46. They try to counter with Sykes. He has the first down. Out to the 52.
That time, Winnipeg tried to blitz on the play both their outside linebackers. If we'll run this forward just a little bit and hold it right there. Both Bob Toogood and Ron Southwick here blitzing in, and they miss right there. They missed the tackle on Sykes, who squirted through close enough for a measurement to see if it was a first down.
Winnipeg's Ron Southwick shaken up earlier in the first half. Again, having some problems going to the Bomber bench. He's being replaced by Duncan McKinley. It is a Calgary first down. They had to measure to make certain that it was. The ball is positioned just across the 51-yard line. A capacity crowd of over 27,000 in attendance at McMahon Stadium. Next year, of course, they will have about 7,000 additional seats here in Calgary. The long throw intended for Vickers, and he was overthrown. He was being covered by Merv Walker. Brian Hirosian was also in that area. We talked earlier about some of the upcoming football games taking place in the country. We mentioned the College Bowl next Saturday involving Queens and UBC. The Canadian Junior Championship will be decided at Gordon Howe Bowl in Saskatoon involving the Saskatoon Hilltops and the Ottawa Sooners next Sunday.
Seems to be those two teams every year, Don, playing for that championship.
Those Hilltops, they're a good football organization. Hufnagel being chased by Heighton. He gets away. Now he's in trouble, and he's taken out of bounds by Lyle Wozniacki.
Hufnagel has been going to the sprint out action, and this time he tries to go back against the flow, but a good backside rush by both Heighton and Wozniacki.
I don't know whether that young lady is cheering or trying to stay warm.
I think perhaps both.
There was a penalty on the play, illegal procedure against the Stampeders. It will be declined. Bob Vickers was the man that was charged with the infraction. 12:13 is the time left in this third quarter. Calgary in front of Winnipeg, 17-4. The ball bounces to Crump. He's still going if he can get a block. Look out! Richard Crump could be gone. Caught by James Sykes down at the 14-yard line.
Don, there wasn't a clip, it was actually a block below the waist. They have to be blocked above the waist. We take a look at it here. We run this ahead a little bit. Watch Mike Holmes right there.
It's all going for naught. A 77-yard run back by Richard Crump goes for naught.
Can we take another close look at it? Holmes at the top of the screen, taking the legs out.
Harold Holton was the man who was dumped, and Harold Holton is also the injured ball player. There's not much doubt about that call. As you said, Bob, the blocking must be above the waist, and Mike Holmes went down and really flattened Harold Holton, the official right there to call that play. And a 77-yard return by Richard Crump, a return that really could have put Winnipeg right back in this ball game, is wiped out. Harold Holton is still down, and this could be quite a blow to the Stampeders because Holton is considered to be one of the all-star guards in the CFL's Western Conference.
There were a couple of other super blacks thrown on that 77-yard run of Richard Crump's.
Merv Walker was one of the people who assisted in clearing Stampeders out of the road of Richard Crump, and he simply ran out of gas as he was maneuvering back across the field, and he was caught by James Sykes. But it all goes for naught. Rather than be deep in Calgary territory, the Bombers are backed up to their own 10-yard line. Jay Washington only gets out to the 12 before he's brought down by Reggie Lewis.
Reggie Lewis shows that quickness again from his defensive end position. Just beats everybody down the line. They're not blocking him. They're trying to get away from him, and he's so quick he gets there before Washington can get the ball through the line of scrimmage.
2nd and 9 now for Winnipeg. Just 27 yards through the air for the Bombers. Knight will have to try it again. Throwing, it almost is picked off by Terry Irvin. It was intended for Poplawski.
And that's a very dangerous pass to throw, especially if you haven't got a strong arm. That ball has got to get out there right now.
You know, Bob, I wouldn't be surprised if Terry Irvin, with all that wrapping he's got in those hands of his, would not have been able to go for an interception had he not had that on there.
We take a look at it from the end zone. That ball kind of floating there. And as Dan said, Irvin got that right hand of his all wrapped up and bandaged up. And he couldn't get both hands on the ball.
Ruoff kicking out of his end zone to Tom Forzani. Forzani could be gone. Bernie Ruoff, the only man back. He slows up the play and then gets some help. Two great returns in this third quarter, one by Richard Crump that was wiped out by penalty, a 33-yard run back by Tom Forzani that gives Calgary excellent field position. We'll be back with their first down.
You never know exactly when you'll be glad you bought your winter Michelins. Maybe it'll be on a tough, icy curve, or it might be on a snow-covered hill. But sometime this winter,
Daddy!
you'll be glad you didn't compromise on your tires. And just as glad that we don't.
Hey, come here. Take a look at this. See? Wow! The new McCulloch chainsaws. This is the new Power Mac 320. Look at these teeth. They can sharpen themselves with the press of this button. Wow! And see this? Is that a tail? No, it's a handle mounted to soak up vibration. What's this? McCulloch's chain brake handguard for safety. That's smart. No other saw at any price has all those features.
The new 300 series, part of the full new line of McCulloch home and professional chainsaws. At your McCulloch dealer, now.
There you can see number 57, Harold Holton, walking around in front of the Calgary bench. He had that foot jammed a little bit, and actually he got popped a little on the side of the knee, but he's okay, and he should be back in. He's just working it off now.
Ernie, he's done quite a job at that guard spot this year for the Stampeders. As we mentioned earlier, his place will be taken here by Bob Lubick. First and 10 Calgary. They're at Winnipeg's 21. The pitch is to Sykes. He was corralled by Harry Walters, the middle linebacker. The advance was limited to about 3 yards. Terry Luck at the Winnipeg bench. This week, he was throwing very little during preparation for this game after being hurt late in the ball game a week ago right here at McMahon. Second and 7. Again, the pitch to Sykes. This time he gets some blocking and gets out of bounds at the 10-yard line, close to a first down.
It's Willie Thomas leading the way from his guard position. They're also getting Willie Armstead out in front here. And they take on Reggie Pearson and blow him out of there. And it's simply Sykes scampering to the sideline, close enough for a measurement.
The winner, of course, goes against the Edmonton Eskimos in the Western Final. The Eastern Final features Montreal and Ottawa. You'll see that game next Sunday afternoon on the CBC network with Don Chevrier, Tom McKee, and Russ Jackson. And, of course, the Grey Cup game comes your way on November 26th on the CBC television network. The Grey Cup game, Grey Cup preview, and all the excitement of the week-long celebration that ends the professional football season in Canada.
Don, Calgary's been fairly adept at getting outside in those quick pitches. It's been a play that's been hurting Winnipeg all game long. We might look for it again on this play.
9:13 the time left in this third quarter. 1st and 10 from just outside the 10. The end zone throw for Forzani. Touchdown!
Blitzing again. Ron Southwick is picked up by James Sykes. That means man-to-man coverage in that defensive backfield. And Hufnagel once again showing his accuracy, puts that ball right between Razalowicz and Mert Walker for the 6 points.
23-4. The Stampeders are in front of Winnipeg on that touchdown by Forzani. Hufnagel holding for McFall, and the extra point is good, and it's a 20-point spread. Winnipeg in deep trouble now, and Ray Yark has to be aware of the problems his club faces and how this game could have turned around early in this third quarter had that 77-yard punt return by Richard Crump not been wiped out by that blocking infraction.
Right, definitely, Don. If they had been able to take the ball in from that punt return and scored, I would have put them only 1 touchdown behind in a very, very close ball game. Now, as it is, they've got a long way to go. 3 touchdowns they've got to make up.
Stampeders again preparing to kick it off, and at the moment it looks very much as though it's going to be an all-Alberta final for the Western title, the first time ever. Faison going down that right side to the 37-yard line. Not a bad run back as Ed McElhaney came over to make the tackle. A 62-yard kick and a 33-yard return. Jack Goda was rather entertaining this morning when we had an opportunity to chat with him. Ken Nielsen, Ron Lancaster, and I walked into his office, and he said to Ron Lancaster, he said, "How did you sleep last night?" Ronnie said, "Fine." He says, "Good." He says, "I hope you slept enough for both of us." Richard Crump out to the 41-yard line. Crump is a person who can break it, as the Saskatchewan Roughriders realize. He ran for 103 yards against them for a touchdown earlier this year, the longest run from scrimmage in the CFL.
Watch Ollie Bakken in this play. Buddy Brown comes out to block on him. He slips him and is right in there making that tackle. Ollie Bakken makes it awful tough to run up that middle.
2nd and 5. Knight throwing to the sidelines to Holmes. He couldn't hang on. I think he would have been out of bounds anyway.
It would have been close. Holmes had that ball there. Just slipped through his fingertips. We take a look at the end of this play. He goes up high in the air. Can't quite corral it. He does come down, I think, inbounds with that 1 foot, which is all he needs. Would have been a big play for Winnipeg, but now it's 3rd down and punt time again.
Forzani and Calvin Kirk, the punt return partnership for the Stampeders, as Bernie Ruoff stands at his own 25. Forzani on the bounce at the 32. Not a bad job of getting back to the 42 before being grounded by Leo Ezerins and John Bonk. 7:37 is the time left in the third quarter. We'll be back with Calgary's first down play in just a moment.
when you're smiling. Keep on smiling. Blue smiles along with you.
Final goes next Sunday, November the 19th in Ottawa. The Montreal Alouettes, after their victory over Hamilton yesterday, will be going after the Rough Riders, and that one should be a tremendous final. Remember that CBC carries that game. It'll be Chevy along with Tom McKee and Russ Jackson bringing that game to you.
Harold Holton has gone back in at the guard spot. First down for Calgary. The give is to Willie Burton. Burton fights his way to the 50, continuing on to the 54. A gain of 11, perhaps 12 yards, and another Calgary first down. It appeared initially as though he was stopped, and Wondrous Willie just kept on spinning for more.
Shows great determination on this play once he gets the ball, and it's Calgary simply attacking the middle of that line again. Good blocking by that offensive line. Jimmy Heighton grabs a hold of number 58, and Burton, just running backwards, picks up an extra 3 or 4 yards for the first down.
Good play as Wozniacki catches Sykes in the backfield, dropping him for a loss of 1. The sophomore defensive end, Lyle Wozniacki, reacting to that play. .6:22 is the time remaining in the third quarter. 24-4. The Stampeders lead. That statistic reflects how dominant the Stampeders have been in this second half. Hufnagel can't find a man. Tried to flip it out to Bob Vickers, and I think he was just aiming it at any would-be receiver. Not really too concerned about where it landed as long as he was not dropped or he did not have it intercepted.
Once again, Winnipeg came with the 2 outside linebackers. They also had very good coverage by that defensive backfield. Everybody's picking up their man. They're all running about a 12-yard hook pattern. And look at that coverage. Excellent coverage by a defensive secondary.
Richard Crump goes back to his own 3-yard line. This time he's caught at the 5 by Ray Odoms. A 53-yard kick and a 1-yard return. 5:36 the time left in this third quarter. Well, we also have Huey Campbell up in the press box with us, the head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos. Huey, next week you're going to be playing the winner. Right at the moment, it looks as though it could be an all-Alberta final.
Certainly does right now. All momentum, everything's flowing in favor of Calgary, and right now that's what it looks like.
Are the two former Saskatchewan teammates now head coaches comparing notes here?
No. No. You got a good color man in Ronnie, but we're not comparing notes.
Jay Washington for Winnipeg, getting out to the 6, an advance of about 1 yard, and that Calgary club continues to stymie the Winnipeg ground game.
Winnipeg attempting with Butch Norman to tackle trap all the way across the formation to open up that middle. Norman gets the block on Reggie Lewis, but everybody else is there. In fact, it's Reggie Lewis who comes back into the play to make the stop for Calgary.
On second down, to Jay Washington. Washington on that sweep has got a first down. He ran it out to the 18 before he was stopped by John Helton.
We're getting a lot of line play inside here now. Both guards pulling on this typical, what used to be called the Green Bay sweep. Both Kindle and Brown out in front of Washington. Excellent running play for Winnipeg that time, and they've got to be able to move this ball downfield very quickly and get some points on the board.
Winnipeg's initial first down of this second half. 3:53 the time left. Andy Jonason was there to make the stop on Jay Washington. Pickup of about 2.
We spoke earlier of the 2 wide receivers out here at the top of the screen trying to play little games with the defensive secondary. This time it was a running play, so it didn't really matter, but all game long they've been lining up in a tandem I formation and then finally splitting just before the snap of the ball to try and confuse the defensive backs.
Andy Jonason is the injured Calgary ball player. Ronnie, from what you've seen in this second half, is there anything that you think Winnipeg might be able to do against that Calgary defense?
Not right now. They haven't, the whole game they have yet to establish anything. That run of Washington's probably as good a play as they've had the entire game. And if you don't have anything going for you this late in the football game, it makes it awful tough for you.
Again, we have to go back to what we referred to throughout the ball game. Harry Knight simply has problems throwing the ball with that shoulder problem.
He's having trouble throwing, and Terry Luck's never even warmed up today, so evidently he can't throw at all.
The swing pass to Washington. He falls down as he grabs it. Ed McElhaney is over there to make sure he stays down, and it will be a punting situation confronting the Bombers once again.
This was an attempted screenplay on the part of Winnipeg. Butch Norman gets his block and then slips out very quickly. They just popped the ball over the top. And the screen's well set up, but Washington, in attempting to catch the ball, slipped and fell down. So it's 3rd down once again. And it seems to be a recurring problem all the time for Winnipeg.
Forzani let that ball bound away from him. Now Winnipeg is forced to retreat to give him the 5-yard distance, and finally Leo Ezerins brings him down at the 48. A 48-yard kick and a 2-yard run back, and we'll be back with Calgary's first down play in just a moment.
This is Paul Anka.
I believe there's nothing stronger than our love.
20 of his greatest hits on one superb new album.
One man, one
From deep emotional commitment to honest, down-to-earth feeling.
so I don't lie.
Paul Anka, one of the most accomplished writers of our time.
I love you, don't you know?
From the winner's circle, this is the magic of Paul Anka. Available wherever fine records are sold.
Here comes the best of Creedence Clearwater Revival. 20 original super hits. Original CCR. Lodi, Looking Out My Back Door, Green River, Midnight Special, and the best of Creedence Clearwater Revival, $6.99 from KTEL. Tape or cassette, $7.99. Available at regular outlets.
That figure pretty well says it all, I would think. Stampeders with a wide advantage in terms of total offense, and they'll attempt to add to that total right now. 1st and 10 from the 48. Willie Burton is brought down by Lyle Wozniacki at the 52. 2:16 the time left in the 3rd quarter. Credit Burton with a gain of 4. Calgary huddling, facing a 2nd and 6 setup.
Watch Wozniacki here. Fairbanks gets a pretty good block on him. He just throws him aside, pursues in and grabs Burton, hauls him down. Great play by Lyle Wozniacki, number 75 of Winnipeg defense.
Draw play with Willie Burton. It's not going anywhere. He was in the grasp of Harry Walters, the middle linebacker, number 52.
Walters read that extremely quickly. He was in that offensive backfield before Burton had much of a chance to get going with it.
Well, Ray York realizes, of course, that very quickly his club must get something together in the way of an offense, or else they can write off their 1978 season in about half an hour from now. Timeout is called as a request for a new football is made. Cyril McFall will be punting from his own 38-yard line. Richard Crump takes it on the run and is caught almost immediately. Bernie Morrison was downfield to put the grab on Richard Crump, restricting his return to 3 yards after a 41-yard kick. I've seen Jocko on occasions when he's been so excited he's almost downed coffee that same way.
He must be feeling a little more at ease, though. He's actually going over there and taking his sip, taking time out from his usual pacing up and down the sidelines.
Who do you think leads the league in pacing, George Brancato or Jack Goda?
I don't know, but I'd hate to put a pedometer on either one of them and find out how far they've gone.
The ball is fumbled, recovered by Calgary's John Helton. Reggie Lewis got in on quarterback Ralph Harry Knight.
We got a stunt on here. Reggie Lewis looping inside. Excuse me, that's Ollie Bakken, the middle linebacker, blitzing from that middle linebacking position, number 50, not number 60. And it's John Helton there to pick up the fumble recovery on the 1.5 yard line.
It's not your fault. We'll blame Mo Simovich.
Okay.
Well, this could pretty well be the ball game right here. The Stampeders with that fumble recovery with a 1st and goal from the 2. Ryan Hirosian was in there with several other Winnipeg defenders to make the stop. Ollie Bakken at that Calgary bench. The man who came blitzing from his middle linebacking position to dump Harry Knight. Second and goal, Willie Burton trying, but being stopped short. And that is the end of the 3rd quarter. And the Stampeders will have another shot at putting a touchdown on the board, but this time at the other end of the field. After 3 quarters of play, it's 24-4 Calgary.
Atwood, Ontario, where Shell did a study on home heat. Different types of homes, a variety of heating problems that insulation alone couldn't solve, like improper heat distribution, furnaces that needed servicing, and faulty caulking around windows. The result, the Shell Home Heat Book. It's full of tips on how you can keep your home comfortable and cut down on heating costs. One in a series of helpful books, free, from Shell. Shell helps.
I've played out of some monsters before, but this one's something else. This monster is the Terex Titan, the world's largest truck. It's the big daddy in the Terex line of off-highway equipment. Equipment used worldwide for mining, logging, and heavy construction. Whether it's playing golf or moving mountains, you need to use the right iron. And baby, that's a lot of iron.
The challenge of the unknown. Some men go out of their way to find it. But one thing they won't take a chance on is the way they look. So they use Brill Cream. Brill Cream conditions hair, keeps it looking healthy, natural. Keeps you confident you're looking your best. Brill Cream, for men who'll take a chance on just about anything but the way they look.
Harry Walters was instrumental in stopping Willie Burton on this last rush. We see it here from the end zone, refusing to budge. It's making it 3rd down and goal to go from the 1 yard line.
3rd and goal. The first play of the 4th quarter, and Willie Burton might very well have put this game beyond reach.
Burton going up over the top this time, and Harry Walters was not able to get there as he did in the previous play. And Willie showing his joy by trying to put the ball through the artificial turf in the end zone. Take another look at it. Burton certainly got up high over the top that time.
So did Cyril McFall get up high and over the top with a point after and a 31-4 Calgary lead. Well, these fans at McMahon Stadium have waited a while to watch their football heroes perform in a postseason playoff game, and they're savoring every moment here at McMahon today.
Just to see how high Burton gets, watch this. He is right up knee-high above everybody, both offensive and defensive lines that time. He was going to get into that end zone.
Willie Burton, who has scored 2 touchdowns today for the Stampeders, the man who set the CFL season rushing record, 1,896 yards back in 1975. And he and James Sykes give the Stampeders a very potent ground attack. The kickoff attempt by Cyril McFall is out of bounds at the 10. And I'm sure that Winnipeg will exercise the option and ask Calgary to retreat 5 yards and do it over again. 31-4. The Stampeders, it would appear, comfortably in front of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with 14:39 the time left to play in this Western Conference sudden death semifinal.
Why do they call it sudden death, Don, and not sudden life? The team that wins goes on.
Richard Crump from the 15. That wedge forming up the middle, and Crump is downed at the 38 by Robin Harbour.
The Grey Cup is not far away. As a matter of fact, well, just near the end of the month. Who knows who'll be there, but Calgary wants to be one of them. Ottawa, Montreal, 2 along with the Eskimos. That's November 26th. A couple of those 4 teams will be in the Grey Cup, and CBC will be carrying it for you.
Knight going deep for Patterson. It's picked off by Al Burleson, his second interception of the ball game, and he simply goes out of bounds at the 50. Well, the Blue Bombers are in a desperate type of situation. They trail by 27 points, and they have a quarterback that can't really throw the ball as he would like to.
Harry Knight just floats this ball up again, looking for Patterson down that seam, and Al Burleson is just waiting back there in that deep center field to make his second interception of the game.
Ron Lancaster, that must be extremely frustrating for a quarterback.
Yeah, it is, because you go back to pass, you're finding out where Burleson's lining up, and he was on this side of the field favoring over here, but he's reading you, and as soon as you turn to release the ball, he just takes off, and he really roams free and does a heck of a job.
Well, the Stampeders are taking no chances of having their number 1 man, John Huffnagel, re-injure that throwing hand. They send in Craig Jutnan to direct the attack. Craig Jutnan, who has been on and off that Calgary roster a couple of times this year, now in there calling the signals, and you see Terry Irvin having some repair work done at the Stampeder bench as Jutnan brings the Stamps out, 2nd and 6. His sideline throw for Perzani is incomplete. It's not often a team gets a chance to rest its number 1 quarterback in a playoff encounter and at the same time gain some experience for the backup man. John Huffnagel at the bench, wearing James Sykes' parka, receiving a well-deserved rest. He went down a few games back in the regular season with that thumb problem. Ken Johnson took over, and was directing Calgary's attack until he was hurt here at McMahon a week ago. The penalty flag goes down, and Richard Crump is in some difficulty as well, back at the 5-yard line. That was a 38-yard kick and a loss of 4.
I think there might have been a holding call on the play too, Don.
I believe, Bob, no yards is going to be the charge against Bob Lubick.
Calgary, number 64.
That's no fair. You were listening to the referee, Don.
So with 12:45 remaining in this football game, it looks as though Jack Goda's second year as head coach of the Stampeders will extend at least one more week. Richard Holmes brought down after a gain of 11, but there is also a penalty flag over on the far side of the field.
I'll make another guess, Don, and I think it might be offensive pass interference this time. Holmes and Gordy Patterson out there were running a pick type of a play. Gordy Patterson lined up here, and if we'll run this forward a little bit, keep looking at the top of the screen and hold it right there. There's Gordy Patterson blocking as Mike Holmes comes underneath him to make the pass reception. It's offensive pass interference.
Offensive pass interference, number 34.
Don Barker telling us about that infraction against Gord Patterson. That's a rather downcast, distraught Winnipeg bench. Bombers trail by 27 points, and time is rapidly running out.
Don, the rule on that last play, as long as the receiver is running his pattern, that is all right. But when he stops and deliberately gets in the way of a pass defender, then it's offensive pass interference.
Knight throwing for the sidelines. Holmes has got it. He takes it out of bounds, about 3 yards short of a first down. Ray Odoms was over covering on Mike Holmes, number 70.
Take a look, an isolated look at Holmes. Once again, he just seems to be cruising, gives a little push to Odoms, goes up high in the air, makes a good catch, but he's still going to be short of that first down. Penalties, not really the same part of the game as they had last week.
Over the middle, and that will be a first down if they rule that Patterson made the catch, and they do.
Patterson caught 69 passes during the season. A majority of them utilize his ability to find the little seams between the linebackers. We see Patterson just making the catch. That's the first one he's caught today.
Winnipeg, 1st and 10. The Bombers at their own 43. The ball is fumbled in the exchange from center. And in that pile-up, Calgary has recovered. Ali Bakken appeared to be the man who was in there to pick up that loose ball.
Don, I believe it was simply a bad exchange between center John Bond and Harry Knight, the quarterback. The ball popped loose, and Bakken, the opportunist, right there to pick it up for Calgary.
Well, when things go against you, at times it seems they just continue cascading down in ever-increasing numbers.
It's like trying to stop a tidal wave with your bare hands.
Craig Juttonen throwing deep, and there's nobody there. Merv Walker was the closest man. Now, there was some mix-up, either involving Juttonen or the receiver. Juttonen lost his helmet in the process, and there is also a penalty flag on the play. I think rough play being charged against Winnipeg. Not entirely unexpected. The frustration, I suppose, being taken out.
Juttonen really paid the price for that, and he threw the ball out to the wide open area.
Terry roughness on the passer, Winnipeg. First down.
In the corner of the field, but the wide receiver had gone on the post pattern. That ball just fell harmlessly aside.
So the penalty moves the ball to the Winnipeg 26-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Stamps. They are 10 minutes and 43 seconds away from a spot in next Saturday's Western Final against the Edmonton Eskimos. Jutton throwing into the end zone. Forzani's got his second touchdown of the day. The first CFL touchdown throw for Craig Jutton. In regular season play, he had 3 intercepted, but he finds the money here with Tom Forzani.
Great pass protection once again. Forzani beating Brian Hirosian in that middle area. Wide open, and Jutton puts it right on the money. We see Forzani here running to the post and then simply running away from Hirosian. Jutton puts the ball in there perfectly.
37-4. And now it's 38-4. The Calgary Stampeders leading Winnipeg. 10:27 the time left in this football game. And we'll be back with Calgary's kickoff in just a moment.
When you got it, you know it. When you got it, you show it.
Hot stuff. Real hot stuff. Styling that defies mediocrity. Pontiacs that beg to be driven. The 1979 Grand Prix. Firebird. Sunbird.
You feel it. When you got it, reveal it.
Lean, confident, responsive. Not an ounce of flab. When you slip behind the wheel, you'll know it. There's only one thing more rewarding than owning one, and that's sharing it.
Nobody's got it like Pontiac's got it. Nobody's got it like Pontiac's got it. Nobody's got it like, nobody's got it like Pontiac.
You got it, Pontiac.
Well, as Calgary kicked off, Vince Faison took that ball and returned it 45 yards to the 52-yard line. We'll take another look at it.
This is something that they've been doing very, very well all season. Vince Faison giving them a great return. And Faison actually tripped, got his legs tangled up with Tommy Walker, or he might have gone even further.
Jay Washington trying to utilize his speed and get outside. He's brought down at the 52 by Rob Koschel. Credit Washington with a pickup of 7. It will be 2nd and 3, Winnipeg. James Sykes with a 67-yard touchdown. Willie Burton with a pair of touchdowns, driving over from 1 yard out, and Tom Forzani with a pair of touchdown catches for the Stampeders. Washington straight ahead. He was upset at the 48 by Ed McElhaney. It will be close to a first down. Perhaps they'll request a measurement. Bob Koschel appears to be favoring that left leg. He was shaken up. And this is something the Stampeders will be trying to avoid over the final 10 minutes. Trying to keep all those bodies healthy for next Saturday's date at Commonwealth Stadium against the Eskimos. That's Craig Jutton, the man who was not on the roster a week ago when the Stampeders clinched 2nd place, but a man who has thrown his first CFL touchdown pass in this 4th quarter, hitting Tom Forzani in the end zone.
Boy, I wish I could do that, Don. Stick my feet in the heater somewhere.
On 3rd down, McCorkindale trying to drive through. He should have it, but it's going to be close.
I think he just barely got it done, and that defensive line really stacked them up.
Well, next Saturday, you'll see the climax to the Canadian college football season as Queens goes against the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds in the College Bowl. And you'll see that game on the CBC television network. First down, Winnipeg. Knight throwing out to Poplawski. I think that's the first time that Poplawski has been on the receiving end of a throw this year, and he was the country's leading receiver.
Just a quick little square out pattern. Nothing too fancy. This time, Harry Knight was able to get the ball to him. You see it from the ground level coming right at you. Knight firing that ball out to Poplawski. Good hit by Terry Irvin, bringing him down for a short gain.
2nd and 4, Winnipeg. Jay Washington running into one of his own men, trying to cut back. Washington and the pulling guard, Greg Kindle, collided as Washington attempted to go wide.
Good job defensively that time by the outside linebacker, Palizzetti, who just stacked up those pulling guards, waited for the rest of the crew to get there.
I hope Dave Fennell and Ron Este, David Boone, and York Henschel don't meet any of those fans. They might not particularly be taken by that sign. Over the middle, incomplete. Intended for Patterson. Patterson protesting to the official that pass interference should be called. And you see the frustration of Mike Holmes as he takes a kick at that goal line marker. But it will be a 3rd down situation. We'll be back right after this. With that incomplete pass and the turnover, the Stampeders have a 1st down at the 41. Ray Yark, in his rookie year as head coach of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, seeing the season end here at McMahon Stadium this afternoon. Willie Burton driving off tackle for 3 yards with Billy Howard coming over to make the tackle with some help from Lyle Wozniacki. Stampeder fans are hoping that the actual Grey Cup will come to rest here in the Cowtown following that game in Toronto, the 26th of November. But first they must get by the Edmonton Eskimos and then either Ottawa or Montreal. Caught by Leskavich at the 45.
Down, I get the impression that down there on the field, everybody's kind of just going through the motions saying, hurry up, clock, hurry up.
Richard Crump and Mike Holmes are going back. 3rd down punt by Cyril McFall will be launched from the 31-yard line. Richard Crump touched that ball. It's loose. I'm not sure who finally came up with it. It appears to be Crump falling on the ball. There's also a penalty flag on the play, a 40-yard kick and a 4-yard return by Crump.
Now, I think they're calling no yards, and you say that Crump touched the ball. I don't think the official thought so, because if he had, there wouldn't have been this no yards infraction.
Certainly appeared as though he did touch that ball. There's also an injured Calgary player, that's center Larry Titley. The no yards infraction will provide Winnipeg with a first down at the 44. Ron Lancaster, it's been a tough afternoon for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
It's been very frustrating. You know, we talked earlier today, Don, that they had to get something going early to try to get some confidence, you know, with a new quarterback and everything. And they just haven't been able to do it all day, and it's very frustrating at this time of the day.
You know, when you look back in this ball game and the final score of 38-4, and you say, could there have been a turning point? That return of Richard Crumps in the third quarter, had it not been wiped out by penalty, could very well have been it.
It was a 100-yard penalty, as we was talking about earlier. You know, they were down on one 10-yard line, ended up back on the other 10-yard line, and going against the wind in the third quarter could have turned the game around a little bit. At least got some confidence, got some life in them, got them going the way the coaches would like to see them. But when the penalty hits, for what they had going for them for that very few seconds, just kind of all went down the drain.
At the time, it was 17-4 in favor of the Stampeders. Right now, it's 38-4. 5:03 left in this football game. Winnipeg 2nd and 6. Knight throwing intended for Holmes. He was hit by Ray Odoms at about the same instant the ball arrived, and Holmes appears to be hurt.
See Holmes here. Ray Odom's coming up to make the play on him. Harry Knight's pass is high. Just as he goes up for that ball, Odoms takes his legs out from underneath him. That ground is awful hard to land on at this time of the day.
It's even harder when you're losing.
Harry Knight that time had problems trying to throw the ball because one of his own blockers got in his road as he was trying to release it. He had to pull it back down and look for a secondary receiver.
Bernie Ruoff this time is kicking to Paul Pearson and Calvin Kirk. He's going to run the ball. And this is something new for Bernie Ruoff, and he has a first down to the 49 of the Calgary Stampeders. Well, Winnipeg is still giving it their best shot. They're still trying.
Ruoff takes this ball right from the very start, and away they go. Calgary had a punt return on, trying to get down and set up the wall. Allowed Ruoff to ramble for that first down.
I think that's the first time Bernie's ever carried the ball. Ron Lancaster says the second time. He did it against us once. Quick out pattern to Joe Poplawski, and he gets to the 40. A gain of 9. 3:53 is the time left. 38-4. The Stampeders leading Winnipeg. Mike Holmes comes back into the ball game, and Brian Gervais goes to the Winnipeg bench. 2nd and 1 for Winnipeg. The ball is at the 40. Actually, there have only been about 2 occasions in this ball game where the Bombers have been inside the Calgary 40-yard line. Jay Washington, he's got a first down to the 33, caught by Bernie Morrison.
That's been about the only running play that's been at all successful for Winnipeg, other than perhaps one sweep, and that's the draw play to Washington.
Well, with 3:05 remaining in the ball game, we've got a timeout, and we'll be back in just a moment. Well, it was minus 10 degrees when the game started. And with that cloud cover rolling in and a few snow flurries beginning to flutter down, it's getting even colder here at McMahon Stadium. Harry Knight to Washington. He couldn't hang on, and Blaine Lamoureux was there just to make sure in case he did.
Calgary's not giving up either. They've got Bernie Morrison in as a linebacker, and he blitzes on the play right up the middle to try and put some extra pressure on Knight. He was picked up, however. Knight gets this pass away, and Washington simply can't find the handle on it. I kept saying when I was playing, Don, they got to make those things with handles on them.
Knight going to Poplawski. He takes it out of bounds and is bounced out by Terry Irvin. Very close to a first down. He cut that one off at about 10 yards. It will probably require a measurement. At that Winnipeg bench, Merv Walker attempting to keep the Tootsies warm. Our post-game show will feature a couple of coaches, Ron Lancaster, and the man who will face Calgary next week, Hugh Campbell.
We see Joe Poplaski running this last pass pattern, does an excellent job, comes down with both feet inside. That's one of the reasons why he was the leading receiver in Canada this year. Good moves on that young man.
You know, despite the fact that this game has been over for some time, most of the capacity crowd at McMahon Stadium are staying right where they are. It's 38-4, but they have not left the ballpark, at least not in great numbers.
The fans just gave John Helton a big hand. Maybe the last game that he plays in this stadium as a Calgary Stampeder, as he's played out his option. Well, they will be negotiating after the season is over. Miles Gorell, I believe, has gone in to take his place.
And what a season John Helton has had. He's been one of the outstanding defensive tackles in the country. Jay Washington gets the first down at the 20-yard line. And I think this is the deepest penetration Winnipeg has made today. .242 is the time left, 38-4. The Stampeders leading Winnipeg.
And it would be at least a good morale booster if Winnipeg can get this ball into the end zone.
They're going to try, but it's going to be picked off. No. It's ruled an incomplete pass. Tom Reimer went up in front of Gord Patterson, and it looked as though he was going to make the interception, but he couldn't quite hang on.
Patterson and Holmes have crossed. Patterson going to the outside, and that ball is laid up a little short. Patterson does a good job of coming back and hitting Reimer and saving the interception.
2:22 showing on the scoreboard clock. Winnipeg 2nd and 10 from the 21. John Bonk has gone out. Jerry Inglis is in as the offensive center, intended for Holmes, incomplete. And Harry Knight was really hit just as he threw. Al Burleson, the safety, was shooting the gap.
Al Burleson comes up into this. We run it ahead a little bit. Hold it right there. Al Burleson here coming through on Harry Knight in the safety blitz. They're not slowing up at all. Causes Knight to throw that ball high over Mike Holmes' head.
It will be 3rd and 10 from the 21. Here they come again with the blitz. And Knight is caught and dropped back at the 34-yard line by Bernie Morrison. Well, those Stampeders are not letting up at all defensively. They've been using all the tricks.
When you know that they've got a pass, it's certain that they're going to rush as many people as they can. They had middle linebacker Bernie Morrison. They had safety Al Burleson. Everybody just blowing in there trying to get to Knight before he could get that ball away. You see Morrison coming into the picture there, making the initial tackle.
So at the 33, on the turnover, or on the change of possession, it's 1st and 10 Calgary. They try to go inside with Willie Burden. He's stopped by defensive tackle Billy Howard. It will be 2nd and 10. It's been a tough afternoon for Harry Knight. A week ago, he did not expect to be in the lineup this Sunday afternoon, but when number 1 man Ralph Brock went down and the number 2 man, Terry Luck, was also sidelined, Harry Knight had to come off the injury list and take over as starting quarterback. And he's certainly attempted to do the job with a great deal of problems in throwing the ball. James Sykes goes out of bounds after picking up first down yardage, forced out by Merv Walker.
That sure has been a good play for them, that quick pitch to Sykes. Everybody's been getting good blocks on the outside, and I think that if there was one type of running play that's hurt Winnipeg today, it's been that quick pitch.
Sykes, the leading rusher on the season, the leading runner this afternoon for Calgary. time left. Willie Burton ran into a wall initially, tried to get outside, and was upset by Billy Howard. There's also an injured Winnipeg player. It appears to be Johnson. He's favoring his left leg. As Chuck Babcock administers treatment to Greg Johnson, you see the snow flurries continuing to flutter down. You may detect that odd white flake falling on McMahon Stadium.
Johnson had Willie Thomas roll on his leg as Thomas and Harry Walters came together.
Richard Crump, 3 carries this afternoon for just 7 yards. He's picked up another 22 on receptions.
Take a look at this. You see Harry Walters, the middle linebacker, hit 61, and he falls sideways on Johnson's leg as he is involved in trying to break into that backfield. That's where the knee injury occurred.
So Jim Heighton is in there as the Bombers do some juggling with their front four. 2nd and 10, Calgary with 1:20 remaining. Palizzetti has replaced James Sykes, and he gets to the 50-yard line. Palizzetti certainly has been a valuable addition to this Calgary football team. He was acquired from the Ottawa Rough Riders. He's been playing that outside linebacking spot, and he's also seen some duty as a running back when injuries have sidelined either James Sykes or Willie Burton. Well, we'll find out just how well Robin Harbour can punt the ball as he goes in replacing Cyril McFall. He gets away a pretty good kick to Richard Crump. Crump again with a big run back, this time out to the 44-yard line, stopped by Rob Koschel. 43 seconds, the time left. A 22-yard return by Richard Crump. Next Saturday at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, it will be the Eskimos against the Stampeders. And I'm sure that a number of the fans here in Calgary will be making the jaunt up north to the Alberta capital to take in that encounter. And next Sunday, it will be Montreal and Ottawa for the Eastern title. And you'll be able to see that game on the CBC television network. This will be the first time that the Stampeders have eliminated Winnipeg in Western Conference playoff activity. Jay Washington to the 46. Al Burleson, the safety, made the stop with 36 seconds remaining. Winnipeg going without a huddle, trying at least to put a touchdown on the board. The pass is almost picked off by Ray Odoms. It was intended for Brian Gervais. And had Odoms been able to grab that when he was long gone down those sidelines.
Great anticipation by Odoms, and as Ryan Lancaster mentioned earlier in his comments, those defensive backs don't have to respect the long pass, and so they're just waiting for something like that. Harry Knight has been going to those quick out patterns, and Odoms anticipated that one perfectly.
It's 2nd and 10 with 24 seconds left. Knight to put it in the air again. Over the middle for Richard Crump. He can't hang on. Robin Harbour was defending. So now it's 3rd and 10 Winnipeg. Just 18 seconds left. The Stampeders.
John Helton's feeling happy, doing down there, doing a little dance.
I think he's probably trying to keep warm on those sidelines as well. Well, they're all smiles at that Calgary bench, and for very good reason. They've had quite a season. Intended for Patterson, incomplete with 13 seconds remaining. The Calgary Stampeders take over. .38-4 the score here at McMahon. 35-20 the Eastern Conference score yesterday. That's the first time this afternoon that we've seen Jack Goda smile.
That was the smile I saw, wasn't it?
What an ovation the Stampeders are receiving from the spectators still in attendance at McMahon Stadium. Well, the Stampeders simply grouped around quarterback Craig Johnson.
What kind of formation is that?
There was very little contact made either way on that play. Of course, they did not start the clock until the ball is snapped on a change of possession. Now, the final 10 seconds will run off quite easily before the ball is snapped. You see Jutman looking back at the clock. This game is finally over, and it's 38-4. The Stampeders advancing to the Western Final against the Edmonton Eskimos next Saturday at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. A game that saw the Stampeders in control almost from the outset. Winnipeg with Harry Knight and Terry Locke, the two men at the quarterbacking position, both hampered throughout the week in preparing for this game because of throwing problems. They weren't able to do much out here this afternoon. Ray York's club forced to attempt improvisation, trying to rely on a ground game, and against the Calgary Stampeders, they were not able to put it together this afternoon. And the Stampeders taking advantage of all the breaks they had, and they went on to a 38-4 victory. Congratulations being extended as Jack Goda and company prepare for next week in Edmonton, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers can begin thinking about next year. A big win before a capacity crowd at McMahon Stadium, and the Calgary Stampeders, the team that finished in second place in the Western Conference, now going against the team that ended up on top of the standings, the Edmonton Eskimos. 38-4 the final score. Jack Goda is smiling. We'll talk to a smiling Hugh Campbell in our post-game show.
Hey, when the weatherman says snow, I'm just the fella you should know. I sell the right winter tire for you.
Your Michelin dealer has the tires that'll take you through anything winter's got. If you're looking for mileage on the open road, a solid grip on ice, real digging traction in deep snow, and all this at a price that's a nice surprise, it's Winter Michelin's.
Hey, they don't compromise. I wash you.
Make it happy times and smiling faces, holding hands in favorite places. Make it Buick. After all, life is to enjoy.
The new 1979 Buick Regal. Good looking, smooth riding, Buick comfortable, luxurious. V6 powered, turbocharged V6 in the Regal Sport Coupe.
After all, life is to enjoy.
There's really nothing quite like a Buick.
John Labatt's new Extra Stock Premium Quality Brew. Something extra to commemorate our 150th anniversary. Extra Stock has extra flavor, extra smoothness, extra taste satisfaction. It's mellow to the taste and smooth going down. John Labatt's new Extra Stock Premium Quality Brew. Something extra for our friends from Labatt's.
Ed, I want you to look in the monitor and see how really beautiful you are.
Thanks. I just want to say hi to my wife, Janet, and my family back out east. I'll see you in Toronto.
Okay. Oh, but Ed, I haven't even introduced you yet.
Oh.
Ed McElhinney, the Jack of the Calgary Stampeders. That's right, they do, Ed. You had a great game, and I know that, you hurt yourself just a little bit, and everything feels pretty good right now, and it's 3 in a row over Winnipeg. No one really expected that, except I guess you guys did.
Well, we expected it all the time. There's no question in our mind.
Ed, go to the dressing room.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Got it now. We have Ad Burleson, and Al wanted to say hello to some people. Your family, well, go ahead. I'll let you say it.
First, I would like to say hi to everybody in Seattle and my wife, Valerie, and Lil Al.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. Did you know that the coaches across the country on a CBC survey picked you as one of the top defensive players in the country? You made the All-Stars, the Western Defensive All-Stars?
Oh, that's great. You know, it's good. It's a great feeling. You know, I'm just glad that we're winning.
Yeah, you seem to have come on this year. This was a year for you, that everything seemed to work right.
Yeah, well, you know, like, I felt at home at Rover, and that's my main position, so they just told me to get back there and do what I can do, and it just worked out all right. And Coach Spavatar really did a good job coaching us back there.
That defensive ball club didn't give up much today. It didn't seem, though, that Winnipeg was able to do too much to you at all.
Yeah, that's true. They couldn't do too much. You know, like most of the time they ran that little short passing game, and that's what kind of hurt us in the past, but that didn't even help them today, so good for us, I guess.
Al is celebrating back in the dressing room. We'll let you go.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Congratulations.
All right.
Al Burleson. All right, Tommy Ferzani, who cut a couple, and actually that first one that you got, Tommy, that was, I think, the backbreaker. That broke Winnipeg right up.
Well, John came over to me and asked me if an out and up would look good, and it seemed like they were in man-to-man, and he threw a perfect pass.
You know, it seems this year you look a little leaner and a little quicker than you've been in the past couple of years. Have you been on some, don't laugh, John, have you been in some sort of a training program?
No, I haven't been living with my mother. No, actually, no, I'm about exactly as I've been playing since college. You know, I try to take care of my weight. That's about it.
This has been an awfully good year for you. I'm not talking about so much as statistics, but you seem to be more confident, stronger, doing everything better.
Well, I know as far as I'm concerned, we've got some great receivers to take a lot of pressure off. I think in the past that we had receivers that were hurt and guys coming in and out and different quarterbacks coming in and out, and I probably the only regular that started, and now that we've got cohesiveness between the receivers, it makes it a lot easier for us.
You know, at one time, there was talk around the league that because you weren't a large receiver, a big, strong, muscle-bound guy, that they could get at you and hurt you a little bit and slow you up, but...
That's true.
No, it really hasn't proven that way. You've been pretty tough through your career.
Well, thanks, Ernie. You should see me after the game. You know, I just go into the locker room and start crying a little bit, but no, actually, I'll just take care of it.
All right, but they didn't beat you up last night, or today?
Well, just a little bit, but not too bad.
All right,
I'll be there for Edmonton anyway.
And that'll be next week. It looks
That's right.
like the ball club will really be ready for them. That should be another one of those typical Alberta games.
Okay,
Here's one of your touchdowns coming up.
That's that out and up that we were talking about. John Huffnagel just read the out and up, and Mert Walker almost come over, but not quite. He threw a perfect pass, and it was
He showed good
easy
speed
catch.
there. I know you want to get back there. Good luck to you next week against the Eskimos.
Thanks, Ernie.
Thanks, Tommy. John Huffnagel. Come on in, John. You know, you're a man that seems to come up with those big games. The injury, and Johnson was in, then he was out, and suddenly you're back in there and you did the job.
Well, we were very fortunate this year that, you know, we had some depth at quarterback, and really I was glad just to get back in the lineup because Kenny Johnson's playing awfully well, and I didn't want to get in there that way with him going down the way he did, but I was just glad to be back in the lineup.
But the way you could have played last week. They were just sort of saving you a little bit. You could have played if it was necessary.
Well, I guess it was necessary. I didn't want to play because.
I mean, as a starter.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to play because I wasn't throwing the ball well all week long, and when I did get in there, I really surprised myself the way I did throw the ball.
Now, that thumb on the throwing hand is really still injured. There's some things you can't do with that thumb. You can't move it certain ways, right?
Well, I don't have the flexibility in it, and I can't grip a football with it. So essentially, I'm palming the ball when I throw it, and I'm using a lot of stick-em. And sometimes I have the control I want, and sometimes I don't.
So now you have a week to rest. How much difference is it going to make now to that thumb? Is it going to be okay?
Well, it's improving every week, and I'm sure against the Eskimos, you know, I'll go out and do the best I can do.
Did you expect Winnipeg to be the way they were today? It seemed almost an easy victory.
Well, I think Ralph Brock had a lot to do with it not being there. Defense thwarted their offense and put a lot of pressure on their defense because we were on the field a long time. And I think that was a big part of the game.
And it seemed, too, with their quarterbacks not being able to throw, particularly Harry Knight, that things were just
right. I'm not criticizing Harry Knight because he was hurt also and doing the best job he could do.
Okay, thank you very much, John Huffnagel. We're going to go back upstairs and then come right back. Okay.
Okay, Ernie, well, two fellas who used to play catch together for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Hugh Campbell, the head coach of the Eskimos, and Ron Lancaster, the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, sitting up in the booth with us. And Huey, you know, it must have been terribly frustrating for Ray York. You and Ron were talking about it earlier. Preparing this week, knowing that your two quarterbacks had difficulty throwing the ball, probably is something that rubs off on the players as well.
Well, I think so. I think they knew, you know, the problem they were in, and they needed something good to happen early so they'd believe in themselves and believe in their quarterback who obviously Knight wasn't at 100%, and I think it made for a tough predicament. Winnipeg came out gamely early, but